Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 21st, 2023 at approximately 4:20 p.m. PST. Now, I returned to this world for one primary reason, and that is to remind everyone that working together we can build this world. Okay, we'll try that again. Working together, we can make this world a better place for everyone. Almost. Okay, there will certainly be some people that do not like it that way. Okay. The other thing is, I build myself as a spiritual guide for one primary reason, and that is that the tools I offer are the exact same tools that I personally use. Okay, in my day-to-day life where they apply. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I personally live by. And little Katie, you are in with the gold. How you doing? And Joe, you've got the silver. Welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. I'm thinking this is going to be a little bit of a haphazard run because what we're talking about today is something that is literally only in its functional infancy. I'm just putting it together. Actually, rather excited today as far as what I'm working on because things are finally coming into play. I've had to do some rather serious modifications. Okay, as far as my outlook on the different things going on. But overall, things are looking just absolutely fabulous, as you put it. And that honestly doesn't happen very much for me. I'd love to say it does, but the way I've seen this world go and the way I've seen the healing professions, and when I'm talking about the healing professions, I am referring to modern medicine, the so-called natural ways of doing it, the ancient techniques that are being talked about, all of and the advanced technologies, all of them have a similar complication. Okay. So what I did was I came up with a concept a while ago and just never put it into practice. Of course, in all fairness, from that standpoint, I happen to be a little bit of a procrastinator, to put it mildly. That came out clearly not. Okay, so of course, the first question that obviously comes up is why talk about it if it's in its infancy? Aren't you worried about somebody stealing it? Well, from my standpoint, boils down to this. If they will build a healing center with the same quality I'm looking at, or any quality for that matter, where healing becomes the priority, not the money. Okay, money has to be a side effect. Okay, so, and I'm thinking here, oh, it's right here, so I might already have it. Hopefully, I put it in here. That's one. Did I remember to put it where I was supposed to? Of course not. Of course I don't have it there. Which means it's hopefully in the other file. All sorts of things go through my head all at the same time, as you guys already know. Or at least as some of you already know. Well, time to rebuild that's for certain. The reality of it is this. If we keep living our life the way we've been living it, we are going to run into some serious problems in the very near future. Okay. So I'm not, who do we got here? We do have to refer. That looks like Andreas. And you have come in with, you have come in with honorable mention there. Wait a minute. I am mistaken. You came in with the bronze there, Andreas. There we go. And the local one, the closer screen is now up and running. And Mr. L, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. I do not need that. Okay, now we've killed off the volume on the second one. Now I can just see what I'm looking at. This means I don't have to keep leaning right up on the screen to see what it is. And yes, I know I'm wearing glasses. Sad to say, the glasses don't work as well as I'd like. So, from my standpoint, it's really simple. If other people decide they're going to replicate it before I get it out the door, so be it. Okay, because unlike most people, and I can honestly say this from what I've seen, unlike most people, what ends up happening is they get caught up so much in the financing side of it that that the money becomes the driving issue, and then you end up with, oh, well, this is a terrible thing. We can't help you because you don't have insurance and you don't have money to do this. Now, do understand something very, very important here. Money itself, quite frankly, if I don't keep working really hard and keep an eye on things, I'm going to run out of money really quick myself. Okay. But I did just send off the paperwork to release the books that are causing the titles that are causing a problem. And I've got a few other things I've got to deal with from that end, but at least things are moving in the right direction. Now, since you guys are the first in the room, I'm just going to drop it on your lap right away. When you think about all-inclusive, and yes, I am watching the chat room, so if you're listening to this and you're listening to it afterwards, absolutely drop me a message in any one of the contact points below, either in the comments below this video itself, or if you take a look at the list below the video, you'll find a whole pile of ways of getting a hold of me. But absolutely, any of the questions I ask here, absolutely drop me a note if you've got an answer for them. If we're live, and then pop them into the chat room. Okay. And as with all times I'm on the radio, and I mean literally all times I'm on YouTube, doesn't matter if it's my channel, if it's somebody else's, that's up to them. But if it's my channel, if you've got a question, even if it's off topic, absolutely ask it, and I will do my best to answer. Okay. But when somebody talks about all inclusive, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? All-inclusive healing center. What do you, and in all fairness, I shouldn't call it, it's not a healing center, it's a recovery center. Okay. But when I say it's all-inclusive and it's designed for everyone, okay, or for all things, what do you take that as? It's just a curiosity question on my end. Because the reality is what I see as all-inclusive and what you see may be very different. Okay. But I am curious as to what an active recovery center that is all-inclusive actually means. For me, it was pretty simple. But I figured out, I know what I'm looking at putting in it right now, but if I'm missing something, well, that is exactly one of the biggest issues. Katie, little Katie's just said you can go there for any kind of healing, or there are all types of healing things available. And that is ultimately correct. Now, you're going to love this one. Okay, well, you may not. I am intending on including modern medicine, what people are calling naturopathic, the ancient healing techniques, things like energy healing and that sort of thing. Okay, psychological healing, as well as veterinary, botanical healing, and even planetary healing, as in the life sciences of water, to have people looking into ways of purifying the water. And I don't mean let's add another chemical to it. Okay. From my standpoint, I got told by a person one day, and it was funny, really. They looked at me and went, Keith, you're the only true racist I've ever met. And I looked at them and went, you want to run that by me again? Because I've always done my best to be open to everybody. Okay. And they looked at me and went, well, think about it. Everybody else seems to pick a nationality, an orientation, a skin color, a hair color, a political belief, or whatever other differentiator you choose to look at. And they turned around and said, everybody else looks at that. In your case, you look at the whole race and go, you're all messed up. And it's time you start realizing this. There isn't a single person, myself included, that is perfect, or for that matter, is better than anybody else. Yes, we all have skills that we've honed in different departments, in different areas. The other thing, this is where it gets a little screwy. When I'm talking about all encompassing, I am also referring to, and when it gets big enough, including the mechanical and technological side of repair. Okay, these are all things that should be, if you're going to call it all-inclusive, for pity's sakes, do so. Now, if somebody else builds one that does this and opens the door, and yes, I realize the funding that we're looking at. Hey, Chad, glad you dropped by. Oh, well, absolutely enjoy the comedians. Thanks so much for dropping in, though, Chad. And I've got your site listed at the top of the chat room right now as it is. Okay, but thanks again, and we will have to catch up later. But enjoy your show. This is the thing. Some people I know with the subscriptions, I've been looking at them. I've been looking at the subscriptions, and I know for a fact that there are more people that look at a video than what subscribe to it. This is just plain simple math. Okay, but where it comes to generating an extra cash flow, YouTube has a draw line, and you got to give them credit. They got to have a draw line somewhere. Okay, theirs, from what I gather, is 1,000 subscribers, so that's what I'm aiming for at the end, and by the end of all of this. But I'm looking at including all of the above, including things like language teachers. Okay, people to help other people understand how to communicate. Now, in simplest terms, I speak one functional language fluently, and I debate the fluently thing. But I speak English, and therefore, best way to contact me if you're looking to get any sort of input is definitely stick to the English language. I'm in the process, and I did find out from a very good source that when you're working sentence at a time, at least for the German language in Google Translate, at least that gives you a functional interpretation. Which is great from my standpoint. Okay, and that would be a bad idea. The reality is, I've only got the one language to work with. I am, however, absolutely looking at learning a few extras because it's kind of required. Okay, one of the reasons for learning a new language, by the way, which has very little to do with the center itself. Okay, is that if you are, it has been proven, apparently the scientists have proven it, that if you learn to speak more than one language, the odds are, or more to the point, the development of Alzheimer's or various other mental degrading language or illnesses, usually associated with age, tend to drop because you're still activating a part of your brain that you've been leaving sleep. Okay, so what I'm looking at is very simple. We require, and we being everybody in existence. Oh, by the way, that's the other kicker to it. With this healing center, when I'm talking about all-inclusive, yes, for those of you that are wondering, I am referring to also the other races. Okay, And speaking of those, sidetrack, I was talking to my artist this morning, and he's working on the next batch. And I think I'm going to see if I can do something here, because I might have printed something off. I did not get to the next book coming out. Row. There we are. Nope, that is not right there. I thought I had printed it off. So I'm going to have to see what I can do about that. But it is kind of a sidetrack from that end. But the reality of it is that I'm looking at this world and going, okay, everything inclusive of 5 minutes ago, okay, everything in the past is unchangeable. Okay, you can worry about it all you'd like. You can draw it into the new world, into the new year if you'd like to. I'm thinking this isn't working well. Okay, virtually every year, I looked at one video that was just priceless. Don't make New Year's resolutions of what to do. Joe, how you doing? Yeah, my problem is I get into a 4-way conversation. Well, in all fairness, I get into it. It's usually only 3-way. But again, talking to yourself is not a bad thing. Hey, Nathan, welcome aboard. Okay, yeah, obviously if you're driving, I would rather you not try texting while you're driving. This would be a bad thing. Okay, but I gotta double check because I do believe it's Nathan today. Let me see here. Today is the 21st. Bingo. Okay, so we do this right off the bat. And I know I've done this already, but Chad was just in here. Okay, so like I said, I am going to try and do this because quite honestly, it's because of people working together that it all comes into balance. Now, while you're listening there, Nathan, 2 major factors. This kind of applies to everybody anyway. And we go to there. And we copy that. And this is Nathan's link. And just for those of you that are interested, okay, or that have been asking, that link that I just put up there for the Quantum Show. Okay, we get finished here at 6:30. Nathan goes online at 7 o'clock. And yes, I will be in the chat room with him, assuming he brings me in. Okay, but I am certainly set up for it today. But I'm looking at this issue now. Here's the other part of the backbone. Okay, where it comes to this healing center. The other thing I figured out is every company, every organization, even the companies called nonprofit, okay, they rely on advertising to get money around. And they have to pay solidly for money. Now, I do have to, it must have been. Do we have it here? I don't know. There we are. I don't think that came in that way, but let's see. Nope. Okay. Well, that was enough of a sidetrack for a moment. Okay. I did develop, and this is what I'm working on, what I'm looking at, where it comes to the advertising side of things. Okay. I figured out an algorithm that enables me to not only track, but also pay for word of mouth advertising. Okay, and no, that one I'm not going to go into an explanation of right now. Okay, I do know it's replicatable. And, again, I look at it going, how do I make this work without creating a major problem for myself? Well, it really boils down to understanding the mathematics behind things. And for us to turn society around, it's not going to happen by one person. Okay. So I'm looking at it very simply. Okay, if we work together, if we help each other, like the people in this chat room are phenomenal at it. And I see a lot of it in the chat room when I'm over in Spaced Out Radio. Okay, which actually, come to think of it, where is my calendar? Yes, I've got one behind me. I just don't feel like getting up to go and get it. Take a look and wait a minute. There we are. Yeah, we are looking at today's the 21st, so it'll be a couple of weeks here yet before I'm back on Dave's show. But the reality of it is that the people in this chat room are absolutely phenomenal at reaching out to each other, going, here's how to solve a problem, which is where things get really intriguingly complicated for some people, myself included. Okay, but I'm looking at the issue of everyone in existence has exactly the same, well, the problems themselves are not the same, but the base root is. We are all right here, right now, okay? And there is not a one of us, there's not a person in existence that can operate through life in the third dimension without interacting with other people, okay? One way or another, you're going to have to. And the reality of it is, some of us have managed to gain a lot of finances, a lot of material stuff. Some of us have gained some phenomenal technological ability. Okay, neither one of those were my strong suits. However, I was looking at it today, and that's the other part of the healing that's also going to be included. You notice I keep having to mention extra things, but when I'm talking about all-inclusive, okay, an active recovery center, this means that we're talking about taking the situation that each individual is facing and finding a way to bring them back onto balance. Okay, so that you as individuals can be prosperous in your own eyes. And prosperity does not always mean money. As a matter of fact, quite frankly, it seldom means money. Haven't read that. Oh, what the heck was that? Oh, well. Oh, I crashed the system. That's why. Okay, so we won't do that. I have things on my list here, but because the system again decided it was going to seize, I had to dump a bunch of things to try and balance it out. Okay, but I'm starting off. Let's get back to the beginning of this. Okay, I've laid out the overall. I've worked out, as a matter of fact, I think it's right there, and I should collect it. Oh, where did I put it? No. I'm just looking here. I had no, that's a gaming character. Okay, if it's not there, then hopefully it's sitting here. Yeah, I'm going to wander around in circles while I'm talking on occasion. But that's primarily because, well, that's the way my brain works. And I'm missing certain files they're missing as in, I've been shuffling things around. Okay, let's keep that rolling. The third eye there, Joe, is a catch-all comment, and people usually represent it with an eye right in the center of your forehead. What it really boils, it's not a physical eye, obviously, but that's the focal point where you pull in your higher senses. Things like precognition, empathy. People can tell. That's the sense that you use to tell whether or not somebody is being honest with you or whether or not they're trying to play games. It gives you that warning. Eris, glad you could join us. The third eye is basically what people refer to as the all-encompassing catch for the higher senses. Okay, telepathy, empathy, precognition, psychometry, the work with the pendulum, mediumship, All of this comes through the third eye. Okay, but again, as it gets in, it links to the brain and the heart. And again, there we have this 3-point lock. Of course, it's all contained within a physical world. But that is also, by the way, the center point that we use for focusing on 0-point energy, for focusing on self-healing, and for that matter, helping other people. These are all things that, by the way, with all that healing, with all the stuff in the healing center I was talking about, forgot to mention one really, really, really big piece, the educational side of it. Reminding people how to go about it. Now, what we're not going to do is turn around and go, oh, you're of this religion, therefore you're not welcome. Or you're this color. Nope, you can't come in. Okay. For me, everybody is literally equal in that respect. And this is why I say, if we're talking about somebody going out and building another one before I get to it, what the heck? I can look at it and say, okay, I'm dropping it out there. If other people build one that will work that way, I am more than willing to deal with it. Okay, there are a number of things that I won't be doing. Okay, I can tell you right off the bat, I won't be doing them. One is I will not turn this into a nonprofit organization. Okay, because quite frankly, in case you hadn't figured out in your own life, things cost money to run. And the moment you say I'm going nonprofit, what you're telling people is I'm not going to be making money. And if that's the case, and you care to extend, and can somebody explain to me how nonprofit organizations end up with a profit line? Okay, they don't end up breaking even. They end up with more money in their hand. Now, to me, this is blatant deception. Call it any other term you want, but to me, that's what it looked like. So, will I ever turn around and open a nonprofit organization for tax breaks or because I can get more money to do it? No, I absolutely won't. Okay, I am trying to figure out how to get things set up legally so that people that desire to help with it can. But I won't be handing out tax receipts. I will not be handing out all this other information. No, this is what I'm planning on doing. Okay, this is, unless people are asking directly, today is pretty much what we're getting. Okay, as far as what I'm looking at building up on. But the other thing, Joe, that the third eye does is it helps to visualize and thereby assist in manifestation in the physical world. Okay, but again, the thing people have to realize, okay, you've got to remember, if you're aiming at doing something, it is critical that you turn around and do the work. Now, one of the books I'm working on is one that literally gives a fully transferable method. Okay, as a matter of fact, I should really get on that one and get it racked off. I've got right now this year, I'm looking at Yldrbac, the Return to Paradise. Okay. I've got Races of the Worlds, Volume 2. I'm sorry, not Volume 2. Races of the Worlds, second printing. Okay. That will be dealt with. Mr. Dreamcatcher, I have to talk to my printer and get that ordered. Okay. Because these are all ones that I desire to have out on the go right now like. And it's not like I don't have enough on the go. But of course, I am working on getting the Amazon store up and running. Okay. In order to cut back on shipping. The reality is, if you go to my website, if you go to this website, okay, then it will tell you what the prices are. Now, of course, the ones that are available that have a little hot link already there to order, they will be ordered through Amazon, but the reality is they will be, and the printing and the books themselves are coming straight from me. So you're still looking at getting them signed. Anything that comes through my hand will have a signature on it. Okay. But the other ones I still work with the other ones I still work with. If you're in Canada, email transfer. If you're not, I work with PayPal. Okay. And I will find a way to get it to you somehow. Now, of course, though the prices listed on the website literally they cover Canada and continental US. Other ones might be a little more expensive until I can get them up on Amazon, at which point, as soon as I can drop the price, I will. Okay, right now it's a question of putting the money together so I can start putting a healing center together. Okay, but one of this whole channel here is one of the steps that I'm using for that. That's what I mean. Letter opener, but I can't reach my shoulder. So pardon me with being itchy, but that's just the way that goes. Okay, but as I can bring costs down, I will. The one thing I'm not going to be looking at, another thing I won't do, is I will not be taking great big chunks of money from anybody with the idea of, I'm gonna fund you this. You're gonna fund me that. That's not a problem. I will more than readily take the assistance, but it will come with a full disclosure. This does not dictate how I'm doing things. Because money has never motivated me for much. Aside from at present, money's kind of necessary to keep a roof over my head. That's just the reality of it. So, first of all, we start with this channel here to get people to realize that, I actually am looking at the idea of making this something that everybody can participate in, can put to use when necessary. Okay. The next step that I'm working on, I've already got the company built for it. Okay. And that is to put a publishing company together. Now, I've tried dealing with other publishing companies. And what I find is, first of all, they claim a whole pile of things. But that will be one of the things involved in this healing center. The ability to publish what you're printing, given that it fits certain parameters. Okay, I'm not about to take a look at people, and it's like I don't deal with people in the room here. Okay, with prejudice and that sort of thing. I'm just not interested in propagating it. Okay, every single person, every belief structure, okay, providing they are sticking to the rules inside, as in following the 3 karmic laws. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Okay. Now, I realize there are some people out there are some belief structures that really point in the favor of, let's be cruel to people. We'll show our dominance by scaring them, by running in fear, by propagating fear. I'm not interested in propagating fear. I will tell you, absolutely, this world will come to an end. Absolutely it will. In all fairness, by the time the planet dies, I'm certainly not going to be alive in this body. Because I somehow don't think I'm going to make it to 1 billion years old or so. Okay, not in this body. I do have a target in mind. And, I'm not saying I will live that long, but I am aiming at seeing the 22nd century in a functionally healthy body with this body. And I realize, but you've had so many heart attacks. How can you call it functionally healthy? I'm still breathing. Okay. And I did go out, and just for your edification, if I didn't say so yesterday, I did find an herbalist well, I've known him for a while, that has now gifted me. He made me a whole pile of hawthorn berries, hawthorn berry syrup, so that I've got at least a year's supply. Okay, and that's just the way that goes. Okay, I've got it stored so that I can keep it so it'll stay safe, stay healthy for me. And in the meantime, I am going to see what I can do. And glad to see you got here. Hope your day's been going well. So when I'm talking about putting a healing center together, I am referring to putting one together that I literally, if I'm saying this is something that can work, I'm not telling people, I will not go, oh, that's modern medicine, you shouldn't use that. No, the reality is, more often than not, modern medicine actually works faster, even with the hiccups with a lot of it. It works faster than the old methods. Okay. Now, I will tell you, if it weren't for modern doctors, I'd have an interesting little problem. Okay. When I broke my arm, I required modern doctors to put it back together. Oddly enough, I ended up doing my dishes at about 11:55 this morning. Just getting them out of the way. Oh, okay. Oh, it's in the morning. That's even better. From my standpoint, it really boils down to this: wherever you are on the planet. Now, I'm building the healing center will have a physical location. Okay. Oh, that's the other thing it'll have to have is accommodation. Now, needless to say, we are talking in today's world about a several $1 million investment. And yes, I realize that I'm 59 right now. In 4 months, I will be 60. But Colonel Sanders, and this is the guy I've always looked at for my entire life pretty much. My understanding is he was 65 when he opened his first chicken stand. Okay. And by doing that, okay, he ended up becoming a household name. Now, this means if things hold true, I got a little bit of jump on it, but the question is whether or not what I'm offering actually takes hold. Now, where it comes to the healing center itself, it will have a physical location. Okay. Where it comes to the publishing, what's going to happen is as soon as I can find people that can work with me regarding distribution, we can work through cutting the cost of shipping down. Okay. But we will run into that neat little problem where the only place, well, not necessarily, because all I got to do there is sign the books before I ship them out. But when I can find a site that can handle the books, that will handle the books efficiently, then I will start looking into the cost of getting the stuff there. I am, with that in mind, looking into a couple things. Okay. One is getting a PDF file done, whereby, granted, you won't have the physical hard copy, but if I can get a legal PDF copy sorted around and get it sold that way, then we can kill the shipping unless we're talking about a physical book. The other thing I just discovered, and if anybody's got any input into this would be great. I'm just going to give you a name here. Okay, there we are. There is a company that puts out a neat little program called Speechalo. If any of you have any input, viable input into its veracity, that would be appreciated. Because before I buy something like that, or even look at the price of it, okay, any input I can get as to whether or not it's a solid program. Programming is not my strong suit, but Speechalo may enable me to put Audible books together, is the way it looks at this point. But I still haven't done the research. I only just found it today. But like I said, where it comes to the healing center itself, the concept is solid. I already have the corporate superstructure. I was hoping I actually had the thing here. And I'm just going to take a look, see if I actually filed it. Let's see. Okay, what is that? That's not what I'm looking for. Basically what I'm looking for is to see if my folder is actually here, which apparently not exactly. Let me take a look at I. And no, it definitely isn't. In case you hadn't noticed, it gets kind of frustrating when I lose something when I'm moving them around. But you get used to it after a while. I will have to find that quite specifically. Because if I don't, it's just going to annoy me. Okay, but the other thing that when we're talking about healing, one of the couple of other things that are also sitting there, okay, is we're looking at music teaching and music and art, both of which are methods of communication. Okay, and both of which can bring a whole lot of happiness to people. Okay, myself, I'm starting to look into teaching myself to sight read Braille. Now, I know my sense of touch is just not going to accommodate the rest. Okay, because I can barely feel the difference between things on the table. So trying to read little tiny dots, not likely to happen. Okay. Will I be looking at the technological side of making sure that I can bring professional people in with the right attitudes? Right attitude meaning everybody has that opportunity. Okay, yes, it's going to cost money. That's just the reality of it. But there has to be a way to make it available to people that don't have the money. Okay, to take the people that are putting the effort in. And this is why I came up with the idea of the profit sharing side of it. Okay, and I've got to go through all of that, and these are just some of the things that I've got to make certain I get dealt with. This is why it's taking a little bit of time. But as I said, this is only in its infancy. And therefore, if anybody's got ideas of things that I'm either missing, that I've either overlooked, or that you may have an idea of what can be done to bring it together. Like I've got all these different people that show up here. Okay. Right now on my list of channels, and they're all at the top. They're all at the top of the chat room list. Okay. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've actually got 7. Well, yeah, 7 because one is my own website. Okay. But the way I figure it, if we can get everybody pulled together and working towards the same thing, then quite frankly, we can turn this world around. Okay. And with that in mind, if you're listening in or if you're in the chat room and haven't done so, if you can hit a like on the channel, on this video, that'd be great. If you haven't done so already, it would be really appreciated if you hit the subscribe button down in the right-hand corner. Okay. Because I finally got things straight. Okay. I know exactly what I'm doing with this channel. I know what I desire to do with it for you through this channel. Okay. And I've even figured out how to do most of it. Okay. I just wish I had a better memory. And my memory is getting better, but it's still by no means perfect by any functional stretch of the imagination. And it just dawned on me how to solve another problem. I've got this neat little complication with my son. He's got 2 controllers for his PS5. One of which the headphone jack collapsed on. And we tried putting a label on the controller. And understand, these controllers are 2 different colors. Okay, they're both a different color, but you think I can remember which one actually has the working jack? No, but something just dawned on me, literally just. If I ask him after I get done this live stream, ask him which controller has the active jack, I write it down on my calendar here, and when I go to use it, I can just go over and read it, and there it is. And again, these are, there is a very, very, very big difference between a center that helps you heal and a center that literally helps you cope. Okay, now we've all been coping in our own ways. Okay, sometimes coping in poor ways. The really neat part about it from my end is I didn't learn to cope with my complications by going to alcohol. I went to alcohol to help somebody else get out of it. Really, really suicidal move. Never killed me. Don't drink now aside from a couple, 3 shots a year. Okay, but I used to kill a 26er. And that would be a 26er a night. So from my end, I'm looking at striving to get everybody to work together to really make this a better world. Okay. And for those of you that believe and that follow the teachings of the Bible, and you're looking for the Garden of Eden, I'm going to clarify something for you. This planet, the entire planet, is your garden. You can either turn it into an absolute paradise, or you can turn it into an absolute cesspool. The question is which one you're going to work on. Okay. Now, fascinatingly enough, it's funny, I'm trying to figure out which topics actually hold the majority, hold the most people's attention. We are sitting right now at, we've got 9 people in the chat room right now. Sorry, 8. Now it tells me on my laptop how many. Okay, on the screen it doesn't tell me there how many are in the chat room. At least not that I can tell. But I'm looking at this going, there's got to be a way to link a dream to reality. And I did find one. Okay, we've talked about dream boards before. Okay, and what a dream board boils down to is you take an idea. In my case, an active recovery center. Okay, and I write down on a sheet of paper, I own an active recovery center. Okay, and that will be part of the empire I'm working and building. And yeah, I did say empire, and it's really funny when you think about it, at least from my end. You talk about building an empire, and most people look at it going, oh, you're after the money. No, I'm after the real estate, as in being able to reach that many people. I listen to people, I've talked to people that absolutely spend hours listening to other people telling them the world's going to end. We're all going to end up in poverty. We're all going to end up in famine. There's an oil shortage here, food shortage, land shortages. I'm not debating things are not exactly pristine right now. But with the amount of waste I see going on in this world, okay, and yes, that is another thing that will be linked to that center, is, I'm not going to go into this idea of organic farming. Farming, absolutely. But I do need somebody who can make a plant grow. Okay, and again, it's going to require property, which is where the money issue comes in. But let me tell you something about organic farming. Okay, I'm not picking on anybody for it. I'm just looking at the logic. Okay, if you've got your farm, now organic farming theoretically uses less pesticides, and quite frankly, it really does. But if you're in this farm here, and you're not putting any toxin straight on, you're not personally spraying it with pesticides or whatever. Okay, that's what it's called, organic farming. But here's the kicker to it. the farm next door to you may not be that way so inclined. And therefore, whatever pesticides they put on theirs is going to flow across onto yours and is going to get into the water table that gets evaporated and then dropped down on yours. So will I ever bother investing in organic farming itself? No, because to me, organic means it is digestible. Okay. And if it's not digestible, I don't know how you'll get it to grow. Okay. But now here's the thing. I have no question that, Ange is just saying that alpha GPC is good for the brain and memory. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. C60 purple power carbon molecule. I use both. Well, here's the thing, and I agree that works. My question is what they're using for fillers. Okay. And do not get me wrong. If it's working for you, absolutely keep using it. I'm not one to say it doesn't work. I will tell you there are medications and herbal supplements that I've tried, some in particular that almost killed me. Okay, because they were good for my heart. Well, they would have stopped the heart attack problem. And that makes total sense, Ange. What that tells me is you're using a logical approach to the situation to make sure that it is working. And again, you're thinking things through. So, the fact you're thinking things through and looking at it from that perspective does mean that you're being as safe as you can be with it. And like I said, modern medicine, herbalistic approaches, absolutely, all of them have their merit. Okay, my biggest problem with them is a personal one. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. So yeah, I get a little stuck in my ways, but one of the things I have come to understand is that it's not that my way is the only way to do it, but my way is the only way that I know of that I can rely on. Okay, because every time I turn around and try and trust the so-called professionals, they screw something up. I've been taking a medication that was supposed to help rebuild my teeth. Well, guess what? And no, I'm not going to bother giving a brand name here. Okay. Frankly, it did stabilize them, but it did nothing for the degradation. I do, however, know there is a way to repair it. I just haven't recalled exactly how to do that yet. See, here's a neat little thing, and Joe, I understand that all too well. I know way too many people that went that road. Problem that I found is that with alcohol, it didn't actually help deal with the problem. What it does in reality is knocks out your learned and trained inhibitors. Okay, yes, it does numb out some of your feelings so you don't seem to care as much, but it also knocks out your coping mechanisms, which is why so many people turn to alcohol and they just get into a vicious cycle. Okay, it's like relying on glasses. Okay, and yes, I've got mine. Okay, and quite frankly, if I didn't have them, driving would be a lot more entertaining for other people. Wish I could figure out how to make that a little larger, but so be it. But alcohol or any drug that wipes part of your mind out or distracts it by inhibiting it, okay, in my opinion, isn't necessarily the best option. Yeah, and I always found there, Ange, I did get into drinking and drugs. And I got in for the stupidest reason and yet the best one at the same time. Okay. I got into it to get a total stranger out of it. And do I know how have I helped a lot of people end their own drinking addiction? Absolutely. But way back when I was in grade 10, I'd warned a friend of mine, okay, a classmate. We were at that age. Hey, Pure Blood, how you doing? Glad to see you. Hope your day's been going well. You know, I warned her. I said, do not get into a car with a drunk driver. Right. Well, do not do it. She unfortunately ignored us, because a lot of us told her the same thing. She ignored it and ignored everybody. By the end of the night, she was she was still reasonably sober. But the two people she was with have been drinking heavily. And we ended up burying her. They survived. Pure Blood, I don't think I've seen you in here before. That being said, glad you showed up. We're just looking at finding a way to get everybody under one roof, under the same idea of putting this world back on solid track. Okay. Now, there's a lot of different philosophies out there. The reality is most of them have part of the truth. Okay. And this is why we've got to improve communication lines so much more dramatically than what they are. Okay. It's one of these issues where communication is going to be the key. Now, one thing I've got to do, and I've got so much on my plate right now. Like, I'm here until 6:30, so I'm here for another hour. Where are we? We're at 5:15. Yeah. So I'm here for another hour and 15. And then Nathan comes on with the Quantum Show. And I'm moving over there, assuming he calls me in. But from my understanding, that's the way that's going to go. And what did I do here? That's Nathan's there. I am, oh, yes. I'm watching because there's a chap that is asked an awful lot. I do have, as a matter of fact, he might be listening in. So I've been asked a number of times, do I have any other figures I'm working on? Okay. And I know that's a little bit of a sidetrack, but here's the thing. I take these figures. This is the newest one I just started painting. Okay. It'll be finished. The majority of it will be finished by tonight, by the end of tonight. Okay. As a matter of fact, I may well end up working on it while I'm on the show with Quantum. Okay, because I got to do something with my hands. Okay. But what we're looking at, got to get back here. What I'm looking at is I'm taking these figures and starting to work on building dioramas and what have you, and sketches that I can work with and lay out floor plans. I've already got the superstructure laid out to handle a corporation-sized company. Okay. As in, and not only what they're going to be covering, such as the overall management, the research, the advertising, the whole development side of it, the finances, all of it. Each will have their own department, and I've already laid out the profit sharing amongst it. Okay. Again, I'm not going to build this on my own. We are not individually going to change the way the world is running. Okay, it's just not going to happen. One person, you as an individual have the capacity to take your life from where it is right now and shift gears to start drawing to you the prosperity and the happiness that you personally are seeking, even if you don't know what you're looking for. Okay. The biggest thing that I had to come to terms with where it came to looking at this center was to go, okay, am I looking at healing these people, at which point they will come in, be here for a little bit or interacting for a bit. And at some point they will be healed. They'll be able to go out and not only stand on your own 2 feet, but you'll be able to help the other people out around you. Okay. I do tend to look at the simplest method, the simplest, most easily replicatable method to do things. Okay. And I just don't want to fall over, but I don't want to put my feet down. Okay. That's why this particular book this carries the backbone of how I changed it. And like I said, you notice it's a real thick book. Okay. The importance is not how big it is, because I can always flesh it out with a bunch more, filler. I could do that quite readily, But like I was dealing with a chap that was trying to do marketing the other day, and he started on this spiel, and I said, "Okay, hold the phone right there. Let's get to the bottom, to the brass tacks. First, you tell me what it's going to cost me. Then you tell me why that's a good idea. Don't bother with this idea of let's pile all this snow on top of it and go, this is such a good deal. I'm going to convince you that it's that it's a good buy for you. I don't operate that way anymore. I've already tried that method. Okay, I've already experienced that method. It didn't work worth a hoot. This is why I say when I'm talking about something, don't just take my word for it. Okay, it is absolutely imperative that you do your own research. Talk to the people you desire to, okay, but come to your own conclusions, because you're the only one that is going to be able to change your life for the better anyway. Okay, now some of us end up having things happen that turn around. Like there's one chap that shows up in here, and my apologies again. I don't know why I keep apologizing, but I don't recall the individual's name, but they end up getting hurt. And when you end up snapping your back in a car accident, it is overnight. It's not something you have any way of planning for. Okay, I've started literally focusing on rebuilding my heart to avoid that problem anymore. Oh wow, way to go, Pure Blood. I can't show you one here. Yeah, we've got our game is tomorrow. So how many are in your game? But yeah, if you're surrounded, well, that was Yldrbac. Well, I am absolutely glad to see you still walking around there, Joe, and thanks for the clarification. A change like yours went through is annoying as all get out, painful, depressing. There's a whole lot of words. I know you know 90% of them. Okay, but that stubborn streak of yours worked out quite nicely. Okay. Oh, that's not good. So do you have to turn around there in Pure Blood and build new characters, or are your characters still salvageable some way? I'm hoping they're still salvageable, but we lost a character just a couple of weeks ago. They ended up facing a similar problem. In their case, it wasn't frost giants. I don't think, or maybe it was. Was it frost giants? Yeah, it was, come to think of it. Frost giants are not fun to go toe-to-toe with. But I've had to move all my figures out. They used to be in this room, but I've got to get this room prepared for a different occupancy. So I will be moving my broadcast station back, and my office itself back into the back room. But before I do that, I'm going to get things set up, because you're not going to need to see, because it will be set up in the back. Either it'll be set up in my bedroom or it'll be set up front, and I'm still going to block it off in the living room. But I'll figure that one out as I go along. I've got a few months to make that final decision. So I mean, this is just one of those things I have to look at. And actually, there's a good idea. If I put it in the living room, if I put it in the living room, then it shuts down the whole front end for the couple hours I'm there. Okay, so I'll have to put it down back in the bedroom. But I'll figure out that side of it. But no, I mean, the reality of it is I use Dungeons and Dragons and various other games to literally plan out and organize the manifestation on the physical world. So I've got a character right now in the solo game I'm working in that is building that same healing center that we're putting here, with the exclusion, or more to the point, with the inclusion of way more weapons and firepower than I will ever put in a healing center. Okay, because to my way of thinking, healing is not done through superior firepower. Neither is peace. Okay, quiet is brought about by superior firepower, but peace never is. Okay, and you cannot force people to be nice to each other. You can certainly encourage it, and this is what I like about this group here. Everybody that comes in here pretty much is really open with everybody else. You all seem to get along really nicely, and this is what we're working towards. And by the way, people, we are up to 14 people in the chat room. And yes, I realize some of you are not speaking in the chat room. Okay, and that's fine. Okay, I was asked the other day, is it okay if I just listen and don't say anything? Absolutely it is. But it would be appreciated if you give us a thumbs up if you like the channel, and absolutely subscribe to it, because I do my best to be on 6 days a week. I'm not on Thursday nights, because that's my gaming night. And no, I'm not giving that up. Okay. I have, however, way back, before computers got to this stage, what you guys are doing, what people in game online, which reminds me, Pureblood, are you gaming online or are you a tabletop gamer? Because way back, I actually designed an entire gaming table that was computer run. The medication that I am using has stabilized them, but it hasn't done a thing for the wear and tear, for the cavities in them. So I'm looking at other options as to what I can do. What I've got to figure out is how to access that point to stabilize them. The medication I'm using, no, I'm not going to give you the name of it, because I just don't give anybody's name out. Okay. I will tell you, it claims that it will stabilize your teeth, work like a charm. I don't have the pain in them. Okay, but the cavities are still a disaster. I don't know if they're falling apart anymore. I haven't lost any recently. And no, I'm not going to show you a picture of the way my teeth look. I mean, that'd just be gross. Do I have a picture of it? Yeah, because I wanted to see for down the road. I've actually got a picture of it on here, because I wanted to compare it. Now, I've been on the medication for I'm in my 5th bottle, so for 5 months now. And it's done absolutely nothing as far as the cavities go. But it did give me information I required. Okay, because they started off with this point that the cavemen, when dentists weren't around at all, where people didn't have dental hygiene, they never had cavities. They had cancer, but they didn't have cavities. I'm thinking the cavities is less fatal. But, okay, there is something that is still locked in our genes. And no, I have not pieced it together yet, but I'm working on it. And I will continue working on it because, well, frankly, I can't go to the doctor or the dentist anyway. That said, my heart itself, aside from some pretty serious hiccups, I'm also in the process of rebuilding, as well as my eyes. Like I said, these are methods I know work, because it used to be with my eyes, I'd take a look at my glasses held right there, and I could not physically see them. At this point, I can see them fine. But it boils down to, remember what I've mentioned to you guys multiple times in the past, that where it comes to healing, just keep that one word running through your head. Okay, keep that word, heal, running through your head. Your body knows what's wrong. Okay, and that's all that has to happen. Okay. Hey, Patty, glad to see you. I'm glad you're listening in. Hope your day is going well. So I'm looking at a way of, and Lord knows I gotta do something about it. I keep looking, I'm sitting here in front of my camera and I don't like looking at me anyway. But I keep looking at me going, I gotta do something about updating my wardrobe. And like I told my other half, I says, I'm not what we call a good fashion statement. So you knock yourself out. If you find something you think you'd like me in, knock yourself out and let me know. He says, I'm fine as long as we're not talking about trying to put me into a dress or, for that matter, even a kilt. Not going there. But and no, skirts are not in the equation either. But am I looking into changing my wardrobe up? Yes. I'm also looking to find a supplier that will print out shirts for me, but I'm not looking for the iron-on decals. I want somebody. I need to find a good shirt producer that will embroider sayings onto a t-shirt. Okay. And I think I know of one in town here, so I'm going to double check with them and find out what the price is. Because if I can get a decent deal there, then I will move into the merchandising side of things to also strive to bring the capital in to be able to facilitate, first and foremost, survival, then the healing center. Sorry, healing center takes a back road to my keeping a roof over my head. Okay, that's just the reality behind it. So I think I know one in the local mall here, if I recall correctly. So I got to go down and talk to them anyway. Okay, because again, the problem I have with the iron-on decals is they wear out. I prefer the embroidered ones. Yes, they're a little more pricey, but the reality is the embroidery usually lasts longer than the shirt does. Which has that added bonus, if you like the saying on the shirt. Once the shirt starts to wear out, you cut the saying out with enough cloth to pop it into a stand. Okay, like an embroidery ring works really well. And then you stretch it over that, you seal it, you got yourself a nice wall picture. It's a secondary use for it. And again, this is why I go with tools or with options that are replicatable and universally as possible translatable. Okay. Like, the reality is, my other half, I told her, now this gives you an idea of what my fashion sense is like. Okay, I told her, if you see something you like, that you'd like to put me in with those parameters, that's great. But you got to remember, my other half is 100% blind. That is a major understatement there, Joe. I went in just to try and get my teeth looked at. And it took us 20 minutes to get me calmed down enough that I could sit still to just get the x-ray done. I actually suffer from PTSD triggered by the dentist. Because the last time, which was about 20 years ago, I went into the dentist to have a couple of things removed. Okay. That is really convenient there, Patty, and I do appreciate that. I'm wondering if you've said, because there's a lot more to it than that, and hopefully you'll be able to help. 20 years ago, I went to a dentist, and I told him that the anesthetic didn't take. He yanked 2 teeth out of me with no anesthetic. I've not been able to sit in a dentist chair since. I don't know if I've got your email there, Patty, because there's a whole pile of questions that I'm looking at regarding how to rebuild things. And there's got to be a way to do it, and it'll be through people like you, or through other, or through naturopaths or what have you, that I'll find the key. But if I haven't got you, if you would be kind enough just to drop me a quick note in my email, or even here, it doesn't matter to me. Mind you, here might be a problem. Any one of the contact points below this video, Okay, I would love to connect with you and see if we can get that, if I can get that started. Because I will tell you, 27 years in one field, that is a long time. I worked in the psychic consulting field for 22 years for the same company. Honestly, professionally for 30, well, I started in 80 saying what 86. I actually started charging. Thanks so much, Patty. I really appreciate it. I started actually working in 86 in the professional consulting field, as in helping, as in having people call me for direction and me generating some income. Okay. But for the last 2001, yeah, so 22 years I spent with one company. Okay. And I decided I'm not shutting it down. The company closed. So will I still be doing the consulting work? Absolutely. Okay. Will I charge for it? Certainly. I mean, you think about it. I've got actually in the field 49 years of working with people. So I've got a little bit of a database, as in excess of 100,000 clients. And with Patty, if she spent 27 years as a dental assistant, let's face it, there's a lot of knowledge that's sitting up there. And it's that knowledge, the one thing that people keep forgetting is the two most wasted commodities on this planet, on any planet for that matter, is the experience of the seniors, and in this case, the people with the experience. Because in all fairness, aside from, you can safely say that with Patty spending 27 years in the dental as a dental assistant, she didn't start off at 1 year old. Okay, but the two most wasted commodities is the wisdom of the seniors and the enthusiasm of the youngsters. Okay, so with that in mind, okay, it is because of people from all walks of life. You listen to the little guys. Little guys will come up with really bizarre ideas on occasion, or so they seem. But they look at the world in a very different fashion. The neat little part of it, I really do appreciate that, Patty. It's support like this is what I find in virtually every field in this room. Okay, and that's why I said, when somebody, if you've got a YouTube channel yourself, and you're in this room, absolutely let me know, and I will be more than happy to broadcast it. Okay, I'll be more than happy to add it to the chat room as we go along, and right at the beginning there. Okay, this is why when I look at it, I go, if we work together now as individuals, like I've got a whopping, I'm just going to refresh this and see what I'm looking at here. Forgot about that. Gotta send that link over while that resets. Copy that, and where, pray tell, I don't need that in my way. Sure, pop up that screen, it comes up the wrong way. Here we go. Send that link to somebody else that asked me to. Oh, did it? Nope, it's just coming back. Took a minute for my screen to come back up, which is normal, and then it froze. Yeah, of course. The nice little part about the YouTube, we had a lot of problems when you think about it. We had all kinds of problems, in the last couple of years with this whole COVID thing. But one thing it did do was it improved the drive for people to connect, at least over the internet. Sitting face to face, I still see people sitting at the same table, not talking to each other. They sit there with their phone and they're punching buttons and what have you. And I'm thinking the guy is right across the table from you, or the girl is. Okay. Put the phone down while you're out for dinner with somebody. Okay. Yes, I keep mine with me. Okay, because whether I'm in the middle of a consultation, in the middle of a business meeting, or in the middle of talking to somebody about something else, my kids if either one of my two kids contact me, okay, I will stop the meeting right then. Okay, and I will turn around and deal with them. Because for me, kids are the first thing that I look at. They are a priority, second only to keeping my own health in one piece, and keeping a roof over our combined heads. Okay, even my other half, much as she does, much as we do spend a lot of time together over the internet right now, or over the chat line. Okay, she knows during this 2 hour period, unless it's a critical factor, I'm not answering. And yeah, well, my understanding is great. The unfortunate part is I can't, the unfortunate part, like I had 4 wisdom teeth out years ago, and they told me I'd be rinsing my mouth out with salt water 8 to 10 times a day for 8 to 10 days. That apparently at that time was considered a normal healing rate. I was eating solid food the following afternoon. Okay, but I do agree with you. You put a crown on, that's great. Okay, unfortunately, my teeth are well beyond getting crowned at this point. But I am absolutely certain that somewhere locked inside my DNA, and for that matter, locked inside your DNA, is the ability to regrow the teeth. Okay. And I know modern dentists will tell you, no, you need implants, etc., etc. Okay. Since that's not a viable option at this point, I kind of have to look at the other option. When I can't sit down long enough to get anything done, and my immune system is such that anesthetic is almost useless. Okay. I'm not climbing into a chair. I told one dentist that, explained the problem, and she goes, "You're not climbing into a chair." She says, "With that kind of immune system, I'm not putting you in my chair." So I mean, from my standpoint, it's just a major problem. I'm running into problems with that end. And this is why when I said I'm looking at building this healing center, the idea is to include in it, I will be researching proper color therapy to find out the impact. There are different notes, different sounds that get people to relax. There is, and I will be putting one room in there that will be very much under lock and key, because there is a room I know how to build, and it's great in my eyes. In your eyes, probably not so much. And I thought about that, Patty, but the reality of sedation, coming out of the sedation method, that's great if they can actually keep me consistently under. But if you're talking about a medication that keeps me partially conscious, okay, which is what they were talking about, what that does is absolutely nothing, because my system will override it. I'd love to say it doesn't, but that's where the hiccup comes. Okay, so I mean, from my standpoint, I don't know how I'm going to pull it off, but this is one of the reasons why I said, I will be looking at every viable option. Okay, because it's somewhere in that mesh, something connects, and I don't know what it is, but I am a firm believer that something absolutely will connect. Okay, the reality of it is that there is so much that is still not known about the functionality of the brain and how it can affect things. Hypnosis is how I bypassed a lot of problems. poor dentist ran into, or not dentist, my psychiatrist years ago. He put me under in hypnosis. That worked out really well until he found out I could get there faster on my own than he could get me there. But I mean, I'm quite willing to admit that I have one of the strangest medical backgrounds that is functionally feasible. And this is why this is one of the problems I run into, and one of the things I'll be striving to bypass. Okay, because here's the kicker to it. Okay, people have fears. People have phobias. Now, phobias are a very real thing. That people, I know the people I know of that have phobias, they're going like, can't I just get rid of this? Not just learn to cope. Okay, but actually heal the thing. Actually repair it so it no longer is a problem. Do I now understand? I am not professionally trained in any medical field. Okay, I just happen to have learned a few things over the lifetimes. And one thing I can tell you is whatever your body is suffering from, whatever your mind is suffering from, there is a perfectly active blueprint in your cell structure that can activate and rebuild or repair any damage you've gone through. Now, do not get me wrong. This is done in tandem with the other medical procedures. This is not done. It's not a case of don't go there. Okay. I don't go to the doctor because, well, let's face it. I get on the property of the hospital, and that's where they keep wanting to send me. I get onto the property, and my blood pressure goes through the roof. Blood pressure goes through the roof. My pulse goes well over 110, like that. Okay. So it's a question of I have to find different ways. But the fact that I have to find different ways, 99% of the people out there, 99% of you guys, all operate under the same premise. Okay. You've been taught right from the get-go, and there's always, and I don't use that term very much, exceptions to the rule. But most people have been taught to fear just about everything. You fear doing things wrong because of the punishment that goes with it, instead of being told, this is what you're doing right, well done, carry on. And this is where we have to really shift our focus to. Okay, is getting people to realize that by focusing on the positive instead of the negative, we will make much better headway. That's just the reality of it. Now, do I have what I have here? Well, I've got what I have here. The reality of it is that there is a way that we can all meet on the same field. That we can all connect. Now, I have realized there are a staggering number of languages out there. And just to throw an extra little wrench in things, okay, that I'm aware of, and I found this out about 15, 20 years ago, and I suspect it's still the same, is that there were about 15, 20 years back, there were 6 different calendars that I knew of that were active around the world. Not just what we look at. Okay. So, I mean, I look at that and go, okay, people don't tell time the same way. They don't tell the date the same way in their own communities. For me, I simply don't track time properly anyway, but I'm getting better at it. I'm finally finding a way that I can actually make things work. But don't ask me how long I've been sitting in a place, because that's just not the way that works. Okay, but whatever project you're considering getting into, whatever contract, a couple of very important points. Okay, any contract, any agreement you're considering entering into, first and foremost, double check the fine print. Sometimes I find if you read the contract backwards, in other words, read the last paragraph first and work your way back, you'll see things that you won't see going the other direction. Unlike with the old theory back when back when vinyl was a big thing, oh, play the record backwards and say it gives you a message from Satan. All I found was annoying noises. But you run anything backwards and it looks absolutely screwy. Okay. I mean, here's a simple one. I used to write with my left hand this way. Okay. That's how it looks normally. But if you run the other way, it looks really kind of odd. Okay. That's the way I'm working on rebuilding my left-hand writing. But it looks like a whole different language. And it really isn't. All I do is write backwards. Rest assured, when that can be a little bit twisted on occasion. But everything that your body goes through, whether it is mental, physical, spiritual, or financial, okay, your body can repair it. You don't have to know what the problem is, okay, but this does not mean that you shouldn't talk to somebody that's been trained that way, okay, because I will tell you, and I warn people, Google Doctor is way too broadband unless you know what you're looking for. Okay, but as something to diagnose you with doesn't work. Okay, way too many problems that you can run into if you go that road. And this is the same in all fairness. I look at Google Translate and the caution I was giving, and it was specifically to German, was the only one I know of. Okay. Was if you did it sentence by sentence, it worked. If you tried doing it by a paragraph, it screws things up. Okay, now I don't know for certain because I don't speak German fluently. But if you're learning a language where you can not only speak it fluently, but you can think in that language, it will be so much more efficient. And like I said, that has the added bonus of activating the brain a little bit more readily to help ward off things like Alzheimer's and senility. You keep the brain active, you'll be fine. Okay. If you don't keep the brain active, it's like if you don't keep your muscles active. You're going to end up finding out that your muscles atrophy. Okay, which is why I'm in the process of doing mine. And yes, that does remind me. Okay, when we go back to that healing center, am I planning on also including a gym? The answer is yes. And in case you hadn't noticed, we are talking about a healing center the size of a small community. Or maybe not so small. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Okay, the thing that I am looking at is this. Okay, I have always looked at everybody from every race, from every walk of life as equals. Okay, I talk to people the same way I'm talking to you. And in all fairness, even little kids, I'll start talking to a 5-year-old the same way I'm talking to you. If they get it, this is great. If they don't, I'll downgrade it. So for pity's sakes, if I'm saying something that is not making sense to you or that doesn't add up, ask. Okay. From my standpoint, that's the easiest way to find out anything. Because the one thing I do guarantee to people is I won't lie to you to make you feel better. Okay. Unless, of course, you give me a direct request. Please lie to me to make me feel better. I had somebody actually do that. I looked at the guy and I'm like, seriously? He says, well, that's what I'd like you to do. I'm okay. I'm thinking, you want to pay me to lie to you? You knock yourself out. I'll take the money. From that end, it's a real simple issue of going, this is how you can change your life. I know it works because in most cases I've done it. Okay. And of course, here's the other kick. Okay. This particular book here. Okay. This one is Believe in Your Business and Follow Your Dreams. I'm going to put one, the next one I'm looking at is literally, it's in the same line. Okay. And, there are 4 stages to it. And these are fully transferable into any industry, into any project. Okay. And this is something I know because I've looked at it for long enough. Okay. But this particular book is the backbone of how I'm putting things together to be able to process the funding and the organization of the Healing Center. Okay. But the 4 stages that are required, you've got to have a purpose. So sticking with the idea of it being the Healing Center, the purpose is to build a healing center. Okay. Then you need a plan. And the plan boils down to taking your dream board, going, this is what I'm building, and then breaking that down into smaller tasks on a list to bring it down to 15-minute to half-hour tasks that you can work towards that dream. By the time you're done, you've got exactly what you were looking for. Now, I had a client years ago that every time she wanted to pick up a big ticket item, whether it was a car or some vehicle or something, or all the way to the point of buying a property, she would whittle the whole thing. And by the time she was done whittling it, she would own that property. Okay, she'd own that item. And on top of it, she had a real detailed figure she could work with. Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, that was just a little bit of an overkill. Okay. Of course, you try carving. You can see where I might have a little bit of a problem with the carving side of things. Unless I'm trying to punch holes in my hand. Just to give you an idea how bad that can be. And this is why I'm looking at healing people's nerves and what have you as well. Okay. This hand shook so badly one day. I was using an electric razor. And I had it sitting here, and it tore all the way from there down to here. I was lucky. It went from the bottom of the jaw all the way to the front of the trachea. Okay. And tore my throat open. It missed the artery. Of course, it did destroy the shirt I was wearing. Yeah, and that's just it, Joe. Sometimes just talking to people, talking to somebody about what you're going through, as long as they let you talk, works like an absolute charm. You clearly had one that was really helpful. Okay. Too many of the therapists I've talked to want to go back over, how did you get to this? How did going through this thing make you feel? Well, frankly, reliving what you went through doesn't seem very functional. Okay. But being able to talk about what you're feeling now can be all the difference in the world. Okay. And this is one of the reasons, why when you go into an organization like AA or NA, okay, they have it set up. So if you run into a snag and you're really feeling pushed toward, you're really feeling drawn towards that escape route that you're used to, they can talk you out of it. The people that are talking you out of it are people that have gone down that road already. They've already gone through the process. They've already got the help themselves, and therefore they can just pass it on. This is why I say this is one of those organizations I really do like. Patty, thank you so much for joining us, and we will be in touch. Have a great night. Actually, have a great weekend. I could not be. I don't think I could be happier with the people in this chat room. Don't think I could be. But if you're just joining us, if you like the room, do give us a thumbs up, and absolutely do me a favor and subscribe to the channel as well. Okay. I am going to take this. Well, we're already global. Okay, we've got listeners I've got to look into this to find out for certain. But I know we've got people listening from Canada, from the States, I've talked to a couple of people or gotten notification that we've got listeners in Mexico, over in England and Europe, and all the way down to Australia. The one place that I don't think we've got anybody coming from is we don't have anybody coming out of Antarctica as far as I'm aware. Of course, last I checked, penguins didn't actually have access to the internet. But the whole idea of this is get the ball rolling now. Okay, now and again, if you guys have a topic that you would like me to look into, or that you'd like me to bring up on this channel, on this stream, absolutely let me know. Okay, that would absolutely be appreciated. Okay, I am going to be. Somebody suggested. I've got to find. I don't even know what my channel name is. I know how to get here, but I will have to talk to somebody to figure it, because it was suggested that I make sure that my channel name is R. Keith Andrews. Okay, so I'm going to find out from somebody just how to go about doing that. Oh yeah, trying to talk to the opposite gender can cause some complications. Like you, the therapist that worked for me was a male. Okay, but he learned really quick. Apparently he knew what he was doing, because he started off on an interesting bent. The thing was, I actually asked him about putting me in touch with another person so I could deal with a few more things. And he looks at me and he goes, no. He goes, you're perfectly fine. But he says, even the most open-minded of my colleagues, if you were to tell them a fraction of what you've told me, they would have you locked up and drugged out so fast your head would spin. He says, I won't do that to you. So what he did was he gave me a book on psychology and on brain configuration out of his own personal library. Then the gentleman up and died on me. So I'm not going back to talk to him in the physical world, obviously. But anywhere you can find support, that you can feel that somebody is listening, that you're able to get that little bit of a boost, any way you can find it, that's where you go. I'm not the one to tell you, oh, that method won't work for you. I am the one to tell you that if you think you've seen something or you think you've experienced something, then in this particular case, it's something worth considering. I'm not the one to tell you you couldn't have seen that. Not with what I've seen. Okay, because the reality of it is, what you've seen is what you've seen, and that's just the way it goes. Okay. So, I mean, from that end, we have to take a look at the reality of it and go, where do I go from here? Well, where we go from here is simple. We go forward. You cannot go backwards anyway. Okay. And spending too much time looking in the rearview mirror of what you've been through isn't working that well. So what I've done is I made a few notes here to make sure that I can take what I'm learning from you guys, what I'm coming across myself, that I can put it to work and build the healing center. But it will start off small. I'm suspecting it depends on how quick I can make things happen. Okay, finding people that I can connect with, and that have that kind of drive that will open the door and say, yeah, I can do this, or this works. Okay, that's going to be a challenge in and of itself, because people have been taught so strongly in today's world to fear everything that they don't absolutely see eye to eye with. You're told that change is difficult, it's scary, it's painful. I'm telling you, the reality of it is, if in the fact that you're listening to me tells me, unless some of you are writhing on the floor in agony, I'm guessing you're not in pain. Okay. But I've got nobody that's written in and said, oh, I'm scared to death of what you're telling me. Okay. And yet, we've got the 352. I see channels where they talk about nothing but the world's going to end, you're all going to die, and only a select few are going to be saved. And they have thousands and quite literally millions of people listening to them. And I'm going like, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but yeah, well, no, I'm not. But yes, the world is going to end. Okay. In several billion years. Okay. So you can worry about that if you'd like. But I don't know about you, but the odds of my being alive, being physically alive at that time, not really good. The odds of my still being here in a physical form in another body, awfully good. Okay. It's just I'm getting organized this lifetime to set up so that next lifetime I don't do the same stupid things I've been doing this time. My last life, I was extremely violent. This life I came in without that, but I still have the violent thought. Absolutely. Hence why I write the way I do, where it comes to the novels. See, even my hands don't work right. But if you think about it, you take a look at it. I put my hand through there, and look where my finger goes. Gives me an automatic cup holder, which makes it so much easier to avoid dropping my coffee. Used to work really well for not dropping my drink. But, the reality of it is there is a lot of misinformation that you're dealing with anywhere on the internet. You can find all kinds of contradictory stuff. And I know that my viewpoint does contradict a lot of what has been shown and what other people believe. Okay. I just never learned the lesson to fear everything under the sun. And I certainly didn't learn to fear my father. He was a big man, all right. He was 5'7", so he was about my height, right? But he had 18-inch forearms and a 52-inch chest. So he was just a little boy where it came to muscle. I remember my father years ago, because he was an aircraft mechanic, and somebody dropped the tail end of an aircraft on his shoulders while he was standing underneath it. Well, all he got out of the deal was a pinched nerve. Which gives you an idea of how dense and how thick his muscles were. Couple that with the fact that he also was a Golden Gloves boxer. And, he was Golden Gloves boxer, in which meant his reaction time was insane. Okay. When you look at that, was he a big enough man that I could have been afraid of him? Had he not had the kind of heart he did? Probably. But I'm looking at the world right now that we're sitting in going, I know it's a shambles. I know you know it's a shambles. But I also know that without overthrowing any company, without overthrowing any government, and without hating anybody, we can put this world back on track. But we've both got to make it. Thanks so much, Patty. I appreciate it. I will respond to you after I get off this stream. The reality of it is, from my end, that this world needs, when I talk about it needing a reboot, it really doesn't. All we have to do is take a step back and change direction, which simply means look at the world. Okay. You look at the world, what's going on around you. Ask yourself this. Are you content with the way your life is running right now? Are you happy with it? If the answer is yes, then stay the course. But if there's one thing you're not content with, doesn't matter what it is. Maybe you're not content with the way things that you're interacting with the neighbor. Maybe you're not content with the communication lines in your home. Or maybe it's literally the finances. Whatever it is, start moving stuff out of the way. Start redirecting the energy in order to reclaim power over your own life and solidify those things into a positive fashion. Because when you think about it, when we eliminate the negative things from our life, what we're looking at, all you're left with is the positive side of it. And this is a good thing to focus on, in my opinion. Okay, that's the biggest thing that we have to look at. And somebody asked me yesterday what I was working on next. Well, I did up a batch of chili. I did up a whole slow cooker full of it. Okay, of chili, and got it into the freezer. Okay, ended up with when I said I made a big deal of it. Ended up with, if I'm only there's 7 meals left in the freezer. Okay, because I split it up into one man meals. So you just pull it out, pop it in the mic, and away you go. And that's just another way of bringing things into balance. Another one of these neat little things I'm working on, is a book that explains not how to be a millionaire. Sorry, if you're already a millionaire, drop me a line. Let me know how you pulled it off, or send me money. I'm not fussy. Okay, and like I said, I won't beg people for money, but I will tell you, if somebody offers me $1 million, I'm just plain not stupid enough to turn it down, as long as there's no strings. But I'm writing, one of the books I'm working on explains how to make the little dollar work. There's phenomenal books out there that will tell you, if you've got $30,000, $40,000, or $50,000, this will help you make money. But the people that require that knowledge, quite frankly, are working in 5s and 10s if they're lucky. Okay, and that's just the reality behind it. Like, I'm looking right now at, I'm looking at dwindling finances, but I have worked it out, and I'll be working it out a little further today to make certain that I can postpone what I have to and get everything moving in the right direction. I already know that what is sitting on my credit card, I've got the money coming in before the end of the month to clear it off, which is why I'm paying real heavy, real close tabs on it. Okay. Another neat little thing. The reason your eyes collapse, and I don't know if there's now understand, number one, I'm not an ophthalmologist. Okay, I'm not a doctor. But when you don't wear glasses, your eyes adjust to the different distances. Not always well, but they adjust to the different distances. When you actually put glasses on, when the light hits the lens, it refracts in a static pattern, so the eye no longer has to adjust. Okay, the glasses do the adjusting for you. But where the problem comes in is you take the glasses off, and your eye muscle has now atrophied and no longer adjusts properly. Net result, your eyes have collapsed. They've gotten worse. But I found by not wearing my glasses on a daily basis, unless I'm trying to work on a computer where I have to be able to read it, and we jammed up again. I'm guessing that the line is lagging for you guys. Once you take the glasses off, your eyes will not adjust properly. So of course, when you go to put them back on, okay, now they're trying to sort themselves out for the lens. This is why, from a mechanical standpoint, if you have eyesight troubles, okay, lenses do work as a crutch. But understand, if you can work the eyes, like let's say for instance, let's say you can see well enough to maneuver in the house without your glasses. Okay, do so as much as you can. If it's not a danger to you, okay, and that's the real key. And this is why I can't say whether or not it's a good move for you. It boils down to if you're personally comfortable with, if you do desire your eyes to start to heal, and you're personally comfortable working in slow issue. Like, for instance, if you're short-sighted and you're sitting at the dinner table, the odds are you can see well enough to actually find your food. Assuming you can see well enough to find your food, it's an excellent time to avoid getting into trouble and still working that muscle. Okay, it's like any other muscle. If your brain is slow and sluggish, one of the things to work with is to find something to learn. And this is where a self-motivated or self-directed education path comes in real convenient. Okay, I am currently in the process of reminding myself of one language. Okay, that one being this neat one here. Let's get that out of the way. This neat one that I'm sure some of you recognize. Okay, yeah, you can't read that much, but this is runic from the Hobbit. Okay, I used to be able to write fluently with it, but I left it alone for so long I've forgotten a lot of it. So I'm reminding myself how to read that, and I'm teaching myself how to read Braille by sight. Okay. I don't blame you there, Joe. You know, from my personal opinion, you know, these things have created the zombie apocalypse already. I literally watched somebody the other day. They were staring at this. Okay, they were staring at their cell phone, trying to text into it, and they walked right smack into a wall. There's another report of somebody that was reading into it, or that was doing the same thing and walked out in traffic. Now, I forget where it was. My son just told me that there is an illness that is out there that does exactly what we've been warned about zombies, as in just walking around and trying to bite people. Okay, apparently this is a real illness. Now, whether what he found was real or not, I don't know. Okay, what I do know is that if we work together, it is not too late to turn things around. Okay, I've actually asked people, and I've been asking for people for years, if they are completely stupid or if there's parts missing, because a lot of what people do is just a lack of common sense. Okay, there is an old saying that goes, everything in moderation. And what that really translates into is it's not quite everything, because I will tell you this. Okay, there are certain things, and by the way, everything natural is not good for you. Arsenic is perfectly natural. Okay, not a good thing to try. Okay, and there's a lot of toxic plants out there. A lot of them. Okay, I do not ever recommend anything that's that dangerous. Okay, so from my standpoint, it boils down to, if you're content with your life, then absolutely stay on the path you're on. If you're not content with the way your life is going, it's time to make some adjustments. Now, you know, Joe, you could take off into the bush with your family and you'd be fine. I take off into the bush, I'm going to end up getting totally lost, probably starve to death. Okay, because frankly, I don't have any of the skills to be out of the house, to be out and about. Okay, however, I've got a friend that I would, if things were to go sour, I've got a friend that is so at home in the woods that he will pay. That when he was growing up, he literally had a pet grizzly bear. And I don't mean he took it home. I mean, every time he went out in the bush, I think he'd come up and say hi. You know, so I mean, it takes all kinds. But am I going to tell you the world is going to end up in a bucket and we're going to be short on food in the whole 9 yards? No, I'm not going to tell you that. I'll let you worry about that. Because myself, I'm just looking at it going, as long as I put the money together, now I already know that I've got the money sitting there to cover my rent and utilities for next month. It's already in the bank. Okay. I keep looking back at it going, I'm going to be short. And I look at the numbers again and go, no, I'm not. If you know how to track your finances, this is fantastic. If you do not, okay, then talk to somebody that can do it properly. Okay, not somebody to control your finances for you, but show you how to track them. This is one of those things that should and it needs to be taught. Okay, it used to be taught, and in today's world, it isn't. Net result, we've got a neat little problem. Okay, you're taught buy it on credit. Well, that's fantastic, except for the fact that if you're buying it on credit, okay, it's immediate gratification. You still have to pay for the thing. Okay, now with that in mind, I've always held. I was told by one person, and it makes sense that it is better to have, it's better to have 5 credit cards that 5 no-fee credit cards that each have $1,000 credit limit on them, and as compared to having one no-fee credit card that has a $5,000 credit limit. And the reason for that, as they explained it, was because if you got 5 people willing to loan you, to advance you $1,000 each, okay, then what you end up with is 5 people saying, we trust you with our money, instead of just one. Okay, to that end, for the first time in 15 years, I should have a second credit card within the week. It's been sent. I'm just waiting for it to arrive. Okay, but here's the other kicker to it. When you get a credit card, whatever the limit, do not spend. This is just from personal experience. Okay, do not ever put more on it than 10%. Okay, which means with $1,000 credit, with $1,000 credit card, with $1,000 credit limit, you never spend more than $100 before you pay it off. Okay, or if you have to, pay off that thing all the way to zero balance again before you add more to it. Okay, now I've got a little on my credit card right now, but I also know before the end of the month, I've got the money coming in. I already know it's coming in, and I will be able to pay that off. My rent's already sitting in the bank. Okay, my rent for the end of the month, so I know where I'm standing. Okay, and this is the real fact and the key to it. Money is not the be-all and end-all. It is not the root of all evil. Okay, but it is a quantifiable way of tracking what's going on in your life and making sure you're on stable ground. So all of these things that we've been talking about are different aspects of getting your life back in your hands. Okay, absolutely. By the way, and I know there hasn't been, today was done with one purpose in mind. But if you guys have a topic or an area that you would like to discuss, absolutely drop me a line at any one of the contact points below here. Drop me a line and let me know, and we will schedule it in to deal with it. Okay, one thing I will ask in addition to that topic, do me a favor and let me know what day of the week is best for you to make sure you can attend. The one day that we will not be doing it will be Thursday, because Thursday I'm gaming, and I'm not giving that up. Okay, I gave up I didn't give up my job. My job just kind of folded on me. Right. There are things I've walked away from and said I'm just not worrying about them anymore. Yeah, there is that to be said for it, and I'm hoping I can find a way to do it. My problem is trying to get into the dentist in the first place. Because of the state of my heart, they keep telling me you got to go to the hospital. Well, if I go to the hospital, right, unless I'm knocked out completely so I can't tell anything that's going on, my metabolism will kick in and override any anesthetic. Okay, and that's where the anesthetic becomes a real critical factor. Okay, but the pill form, well, let me put it this way: when I do get a headache, the standard, according to what I was told by the pharmacist, 1,000 milligrams of acetaminophen is prescription strength. In my case, I require 4 to 5,000 milligrams just to take the edge off. Because what happens is my system takes a look at the medication and goes, nope, that's foreign, we're taking that out of the equation. So, for me, it's complicated. But do I recommend people get to a dentist, get to a doctor on a regular basis themselves? Absolutely, I do. Because I'll tell you, they'll spot things you won't. Okay. The theory is they're trained to. Unfortunately, in my case, they have to compensate for a body that doesn't work quite normally. That's just the reality behind it. But the nice part about it, and I really do appreciate the input people are giving me here. Really, really, like it has been, well, because my teeth are the way they are, it has probably been 10 years since I've been able to enjoy an actual steak. Because I just haven't had the teeth to be able to do it. I still eat it. It's just not done the same. It's just not done with the idea of being able to bite through it properly. And it's just one of those things you learn to live with. But, from my standpoint, things are turning around nicely. I've got a solid path. I know exactly where I'm heading. And absolutely, like I said, if you've got topics that you're interested in, absolutely let me know. Now we're down to the tail end here. Okay, and again, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. Okay, that would be really appreciated. Okay, now in half an hour, I'm going on to the Quantum Show with Nathan. Okay, at least assuming that is still standing. I haven't actually heard from him as far as that goes so far, but I shouldn't be hearing from him for another 15, 20 minutes anyway. In the meantime, I'm going to bring this to a close. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you again tomorrow afternoon from 4:30. I'll be on at 4:30. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.